over 250 advocacy groups warned that House Republicans have not halted their efforts to push through as many restrictions on government spending as possible in the federal budget bill, which is coming up, in August, I think? I think it is. These Christian demons have added dozens of more so-called poison pill riders to the legislation. And this is before they take off for the August recess. I guess it comes up in September. I'm not sure. Anyway, there is a group called the Clean Budget Coalition. And as indicated by the name of this organization, what they're asking, what they've asked for decades, is when it comes time to come up with a budget to keep the United States of America operating, just do a budget bill on its own, for God's sake. But that's not how it works. The biggest offenders, of course, are these right-wing fascistic demons who have been infesting our government for decades. Occasionally, the Democrats are guilty of the same thing, adding these riders, but not like this. Democrats usually don't add riders to a budget bill that takes away from people those aspects of government that we've all come to depend on. This is what the Christian fascists do. So the Clean Budget Coalition, and by the way, that includes groups like Public Citizen and a group called Coalition for Sensible Safeguards. But the Budget Coalition reported that 74 new poison bills have been added to spending bills since these advocates, people who were warning us about this, first sounded the alarm about the practice just a week ago. 74 more. This is what filth, scum, like the Q bitch, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and the rest of these son of a bitches do. While we're all focused on the Trump monster, these little rats, these demons, are working inside the Congress of the United States to destroy everything, really. Now, at least 291 poison pill riders, which ban certain types of spending by the feds, have now been introduced in the legislation necessary to pass the next budget. And that's expected to be the subject of the latest spending fight this fall. I guess it's not until September, October when this budget bill comes up. And this comes just months after Republicans slashed nutritional assistance and education spending in the deal that they worked out to raise the debt ceiling. Now, remember we talked about that. They took away from people who desperately need, food. The so-called SNAP program, supplemental nutrition program, took away from people who use that so-called food stamps. And now they're doing even more damage, these Republicans, these Christians. Again, let me state it categorically. These are not Jews in the Congress who are doing this. These are not Muslims in the Congress who are doing this. These are not Hindus in the Congress who are doing this. These are Christians in the Congress who are doing this. Now, according to the Clean Budget Coalition, quote, all these measures must be removed, end quote. Yeah, well, now, not that this budget would ever pass both the House and the Senate. And if it were to pass, it would never be signed into law by Joe Biden. But it is proof positive, if any is still needed, about what these Christian fascists are all about. They're about pain, suffering, deprivation. They're about everything that their so-called Messiah told them not to do. This is why I call them Christian fascists or Christian demons. I am not assaulting your religion if you are a Christian who's not involved in this horse shit. But I digress. These new poison pill riders include ones that would roll back decades of progress in securing rights for, well, marginalized people in the country. This is what the demons do. This is what these Christians do. They go after the weakest. And that is explicitly what Jesus of Nazareth told them not to do. As you treat these, the least of my brothers and sisters, so you treat me, more or less. I mean, this is the part that keeps the energy pumping into my insistence that these Christian demons are from hell. They are evil imps, devils from hell that are doing this and doing it under the cover of the Christian religion. Oh, my God. But taking away the rights that have been established for marginalized people in the U.S., and that includes LGBTQ people, immigrants, people targeted by right-wing extremists or white supremacist groups, and people most impacted by air pollution. They've also added, these Christian demons, a same-sex marriage rider that would allow opponents of marriage equality to receive federal funding even if they discriminate against same-sex couples. They've also put a rider that says the pride flag would never, ever, ever be flown from any government building. Oh, Jesus Christ. And there's a rider about visas that would block the Labor Department from enforcing a rule that strengthens protections and wage calculations for foreign workers. And the result of that would be to potentially take away an estimated $35 million wage increase from farm workers. People who get out there and do the kind of labor that these Christian demons would no more do than they would open up their own goddamn jugular vein, which is not a bad idea as far as I'm concerned. The poison pills also include a number of restrictions on the EPA and numerous environmental justice programs, like the one blocking the EPA from implementing a new rule to reduce mercury and other toxic air pollution. The Christians want more mercury in the atmosphere and in the environment. They want more air pollution. They want more death and destruction. Please don't wonder why I'm constantly going after these filthy, rotten, anti-life bastards. Oh, my God. They also, the Christians, want a rider on the funding bill that prevents the EPA from enforcing new carbon pollution limits for coal and gas power plants. I mean, what kind of craziness is that? They want the gas and coal power plants to be allowed to increase the amount of death and destruction flooding into the atmosphere. Not just as the result of which would be an increase in global temperatures, but it would mean increased air pollution so that people who are struggling to breathe anyway have it even worse. These are Christians doing this. There's no way you can escape that. There's another rider that these demons have put in the budget bill that would block the government from imposing new proposed rules to reduce tailpipe emissions. Now, why? At some point, we have to ask ourselves, why would these Christians, why would these elected representatives in Congress, why would they impose rules that would stop the reduction of tailpipe emissions? I mean, tailpipe emissions add to global climate change. They add to asthma, COPD. In other words, they shorten people's lifespans. They condemn people to early death. What the hell is going on with these people? Well, that's where I come up with my idea that these people are inspired by the Christian Satan. Why they are doing this, I have no idea, unless they are, in fact, demonic creatures who have bubbled up out of some hell portal someplace. That sounds crazier, Malloy, than it sounds when you just think it. Ah! Now, the former EPA attorney, David Corson, said yesterday, quote, "These riders will damage the EPA's ability to do its critical work." And the House Republicans are hell-bent on bulldozing any gains in environmental justice with the Republicans' doomsday proposals, end quote. I guess, when I try to think about what would be inspiring these Christians to act this way, it has to be the book of Revelation, that insane compendium of gibberish and drug-addled bullshit that John of Patmos, on a Greek island, sat there by himself, eating all kinds of mind-altering drugs, apparently, and coming up with this crazy shit about 7-headed demons and horses and the apocalypse and whores rising out of the ocean. And oh my God. But that seems to be the inspiration of Christian terrorists. They want that because John of Patmos made it clear that when that happens, then Jesus will appear on a cloud of fire descending from heaven. Yeah! Man, that's some scary shit. Whew. Why can't Christians just adopt the kind of Christianity that I was force-fed when I was a kid? That Jesus liked to walk around holding little baby lambs trailed by children, and he would make his way up on the side of a hill to give the Sermon on the Mount and explain to people, blessed are the poor in spirit, and blessed are the weak, blessed are, Why can't Christianity today be like that? I mean, it didn't really hurt me as a child. As a matter of fact, it gave me something that I'm probably completely not aware of even today. Once I got older and realized that the foundation of that religion, all religion, is just horseshit, just an absolute terror of death, which I don't get. But until I came to that realization, it's like, oh, Christianity. Now, granted, my grandma used to tell me that, if you're not saved, you're going to burn in hell. I don't know how I handled that. I guess I just ignored it. I guess I did. Because I certainly loved my grandmother, and I didn't go to visit her thinking, ooh, I may burn in hell. No. But that's been the question that I've had ever since the Christian Coalition and the Moral Majority and these Christian demons started showing up out of hell portals, apparently, and infesting government, first the federal level, then the state level, then the local level. And they're everywhere now. I'm not saying they're the majority of Christians, but they are certainly the vocal majority. When's the last time you heard a Christian stand out and start talking about the Sermon on the Mount? Or anything lovely and comforting and sweet and kind and about their religion? When's the last time you heard that? You haven't. Not for a long time. If you're a member of an established church, okay, maybe your pastor or preacher, whatever you call that person, maybe it's talked about in your Sunday sermons, but that's not what the Christian demons talk about. They're all death and destruction and terror and fire, kind of, Inquisition style. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.